Hello everyone, this is Trevor with Mando Deck Tech, and today we are going to be talking about the Jabba Ramp deck. Now, before I do jump into that, I do want to do a quick shout out to the guys at Final Round Game Shop in Summerville, South Carolina. Now, this is just outside of Charleston. For my job, I do get to travel a lot through the Carolinas and Virginia, and I always take my decks with me and get to play test against players all throughout the territory. So it's super cool to be able to see all the local meta. So shout out to those guys as they got to help me test my Han Blue and my Rey Aggression decks. I did put those videos on the channel. They are down. The links are down below in the description if you're interested in checking those out. Also, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the videos. It really does help out the channel a whole lot, as I will be playtesting a lot of things, getting ready for the planetary qualifier coming up here in just a couple months. With that, without any further ado, let's jump in and take a look at the Jabba Ramp deck. Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Jabba Ramp deck. Now, this is a deck that I ran into in Raleigh, North Carolina a few weeks ago. I ran into a player that was playing this. It was a fantastic deck. I loved how fast he could ramp into it. His whole idea was the idea of, like, what if we could have timely intervention in the same deck with, like, a Rancor or a Krayt Dragon? I was like, okay, that sounds really fun. So this is a version of his deck that I don't have his exact list, but I played 3 games with him there. So I took his ideas, came up, kind of put some other stuff in here together. This is what I've been playing over the last few days. Really enjoying it. So the idea with this deck is you kind of have 3 phases. The first phase, you're going to have your early, almost like an aggro list between Death Star Stormtrooper, the Retainer, Kylo Silencer, and particularly the Reputable Hunter that you can get out early because of Jabba's bounty ability. Can put some aggro early on. Then you can drop Toro into Jango and Chrysanthemum. So there's a whole line of, like, bounty hunter, aggro that you can go into here, particularly using Toro's untap ability to help clear the field. So you have that game plan. You also have the ramp game plan of if you get the resupply the super laser technicians going, while, using a little bit of spot removal with force choke and open fire, you can ramp up and get into the late game. Now, the late game really centers around 5 cards. Ruthless Raider is definitely a card I want to see early and get out as fast as possible. I love that card, and he really provides a lot of problems in the current environment. There are a lot of decks that just don't have a good answer. I've heard a lot of Kira players talk about what a problem that card is because it can't be, you can't use Takedown. You can't use Fell the Dragon. You can't use Open Fire. So there's a lot of things that just gets around. And a lot of times, even Overwhelming Barrage at that 6 health is just a little too much to get to it. So I really like Ruthless Raider in the environment. The reason that I want him there is because I want him out whenever I flip Jabba. Because when I flip Jabba and I use his capture ability, I want to be able to take whatever their big bad unit is I'm afraid of and slot it under the Raider, because the Raider is really hard to kill. So that's one of the things I like to do with the deck. I also love the combination that we have with Jabba the Hutt and Maul, because whenever we flip Jabba, capture something, then Maul comes down and his ability can work really well with Jabba. So there's a lot of synergy between those cards of Maul being able to give all of his damage over to Jabba, who has 12 health. Then we have Emperor Palpatine, a solid just late game card to help clear the board if you need. And then you have the Rancor Krayt Dragon. Now, because of Rancor's innate ability of being 1 cheaper when you have Jabba, and then also having the ramp ability of the whole deck, I've gotten the Rancor out pretty quick, and it can be disgusting if you drop a 9/9 really early. And then the same goes with getting an early Krayt Dragon. So the whole idea of this deck, like I said, is to try to get those big monsters to hit the table early. And let's face it, it's a lot of fun to play a game. You get to play really big units, and that's what this deck does, and it does it pretty well. Now, for the sideboard, one of the cards I've been playing around with a lot is Scanning Officer. I feel that card is really good in the current meta, particularly because we're seeing so much Han Yellow. It's even good against Han Blue, and pretty much anything that's got a lot of smuggle in it, but particularly the Han decks really don't want to see Scanning Officer. It's so good, I've actually considered maybe main decking it, because I'm seeing a lot of Han lately. So I think it's definitely a card we want at least in the sideboard. Other things I've got a couple extra copies of Open Fire. That's just a good catch-all depending on what you're running into. Disabling Fang Fighter, I've got 1 main, I've got 1 in the board. I think 2 is the right number. I don't know if it's 2 main, 2 in the board, 1 and 1, but right now I'm sitting at 1 and 1. Imperial Interceptor, I've got 2 of those. There's a lot of decks out there that the A-Wing Rebel combo is kind of tough, so I've got Interceptors there to kind of help with that. Choose Sides is a really cheeky sideboard card that I'm really enjoying because of its ability to kind of give somebody my crappy unit. Here, you take my Stormtrooper, I'll take your big thing that's bothering me. That card has been so good out of the board. I'm actually going to start playtesting, I think, one in the main. I think it's a lot of fun. And if you don't take anything else from this video, take a look at Choose Sides and say, hey, maybe that's a card we should take a look at. I think it's a pretty spicy one-up in a lot of decks. So anyway, so Choose Sides is definitely something I'm taking a look at for this deck because you can kind of ramp up into it and get it off a little bit earlier if you need to, but I think it's a great card. Alright, so with that, let's take a look at some of the early playtesting that I've done. I do have some results for us. Okay, so early on I played Kylo Red a couple games. I did really well stabilizing with the board and then using the big blast, overwhelming barrage. Completely ends that game. Got pretty fortunate, I think. I did end up beating Boba Yellow. I've also taken down Sabine Yellow with this deck. I played a Bo-Katan Blue deck, and honestly, that I would have lost that game had I not had the Fang Fighter to take out the Darksaber on the Bo-Katan flip side. Han Blue, I've had really good luck with this deck with Han Blue. It's gone 2-1 with it. Sabine ECL, 1-1, tough matchup. It's a great deck right now. I would love to see more testing with that matchup. Kira ECL is probably one of the problems of the environment right now. I did have a lot of luck running Raider against that deck, but again, 1-1, it's really early. Han Yellow, 2-1. I've actually had some pretty good luck with that deck, against that deck. Capturing Han using the Raider Jabba combo won a game for me. It was a lot of fun. My big takeaway here is that I think this deck is feasible in the environment to play. I think you can take this to locals, have a lot of fun. Is it something I'd take to a planetary qualifier, some big, tournament? Maybe not. But who knows? I think with a little bit of refinement and a lot of tuning, we could see this deck be a contender. At the very least, it's a whole lot of fun to play. And ultimately, that's kind of the point of the game, right? So with that, I would love to hear your feedback on the deck. If there's a version of the deck that you like better, if there's different card choices you would have picked, I would love to hear it. If there's something I'm just omitting from the deck that should be in there. A lot of people like Salacious Crumb in the deck. There's so many good choices. What do you cut to put Crumb in? So anyways, that's where I've got the deck right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the deck. Again, consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, toss out some comments. And until next time, let's keep playing. Take care.